Welcome back to Healing in Spanglish. It's your hosts, Metzli and Ixchel, your Boyle Heights besties, figuring out what wellness looks like for us and our people.
So let's get real about healing in all the ways you weren't taught but deeply deserve. So the theme for today is having an honest and real conversation about the health disparities that exist in our community. We're going to talk a little bit about our own history within our own genetics, as well as like seeing our parents grow older and kind of like develop health and chronic issues, and how that's affected our own lives and how we view health as something sacred and things that we bring into our adulthood to hopefully combat a lot of like what runs in our genetics.
And also, I feel like just like the frustration we have now, knowing what we know about health and movement and, preventative care, and the frustration we deal with our parents that maybe don't prioritize it as much because they did not have the privilege, but we try to instill it now. And it's just like, as maybe anyone else can imagine, it's a struggle sometimes to get your parents to care a little bit more about their health, So we'll definitely vent about that. But before we get into the topic today, we wanted to do our weekly check-in. So first, we want to talk about the Spanish word of the week, which is salud, in honor of us talking about health and wellness. Salud for me, I feel like I don't know, it's a word that I see used a lot, generally not even just like your health, but I like that it's also used as like your well-being, like just like wellness to promote just like positivity of taking care of it, of yourself. Yeah, I don't know. That's what comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I think a lot about that brand, Salud.
That's true.
Yeah, but I mean, it's salud, taking care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also wanted to do our weekly healing confession. What are you working on this week?
I am working on trying to set like one day out of the week to hang out with my parents and it be something intentional than just like what we already do in the house. And on the topic of like salud, with the intention of having them move and like also be in nature. But that's what I'm working on, just making sure I set an allotted time for that.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great one.
What about you?
You actually reminded me of something that makes me think about what I've been trying to work on a similar note. I feel like, yes, I've been so frustrated with maybe some of the health things that I've seen come up for my parents. Like my mom especially is dealing with like extreme back shoulder issues, and so she like doesn't go to work consistently, and I'm like, I get frustrated, like do this more, walk more, but I think I'm just trying to like heal from trying to identify like what is in my control that I can at least help remind or be there in person to just do it, even if it's only once a week, like what my capacity is, and and have peace in that, because like that's what I can do and like contribute to, but there's only so much you could do, you can't force them. So I think I'm just trying to like find the balance of like what role can I play in that journey for her to like help a little bit. And right now it's been as simply as like calling her every night, reminding her to go on a walk. So I just like remind her like, let's go. Okay, come on, I'm waiting for you on the phone. And so she's like, okay. So just trying to do that, because I can do that, and it takes like 5 minutes. So
it's just trying to do that. Little baby steps.
Exactly.
That's so sweet. Yay.
Yeah. The question.
I know. I just don't know what it is. Hold up.
It's like challenge or health of families.
Okay. So now for our little opening before we get into it, what is one health condition that has existed in your family, and what's one thing you're doing to combat it today?
That's a great question. There's a lot of different things. I think a bigger one that has been highlighted for my extended family this past year has been dementia or Alzheimer's, which my grandma is dealing with right now, or is experiencing. She, has a hard time. For those who don't know what it is, like she can't remember things it's different for everyone, but she in particular can't retain information the same way, and a lot of memories are being lost. Like she can remember particular things very well, but it does get to the point where like even remembering like who her kids are and being able to decipher from like her grandkids to us, right? So that is something new that I think my entire extended family has experienced. And as you can imagine, when you don't know anything about like a chronic illness like that, or, you know, a disease, it's very hard to like navigate, and you're sort of like grieving your grandma or your parent to my, you know, my dad, because they're not there. Like they're not the same person anymore because they can't retain, you know, the same information and whatnot. So, that's been a huge challenge. And one of the things that I saw, and it's such a simple thing, but one thing that can help decrease your chances of, you know, having dementia or Alzheimer's is as literally simple as it sounds, is walking. And I just feel, because movement in general is just something that's so essential to health and helps, you know, lower your cortisol levels, which then helps decrease, I believe, like some sort of like abnormal brain cells that are what are a big contributor to Alzheimer's. So there's not like one clear answer on like the reasons behind it, but there's a series of things that you can do to like help prevent it. And I just think like sometimes we think it's so simple to walk, so simple to just like walk, and it can't be that dramatically of make a, you know, dramatic difference, but it actually very much does. And so I just think we can't undermine the simplicity of walking, because it can make a huge difference for like our stress levels, cortisol levels, health, mobility, all that stuff. So that's one thing that I've been prioritizing a lot lately. I got my walking pad in my work from home space. So I'm walking and sweating during the day. But yeah, but like we're so sedentary now that like being able to just walk because I'm on a computer, it makes a huge difference. Like on my back, on my, you know, just like being able to move throughout the day. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. I had a question. Is your grandma the first one who's had dementia in your family? Oh.
Yeah, she's the first one. So I feel like that's what's been so challenging for a lot of my dad's siblings and himself, because it's like, whoa, they've never navigated this or understood it. So they're learning as it happens. And I feel like with that has come a lot of frustration, like,
for sure. Yeah.
And a lot of disagreement. Like, this is how we should do it. This is how we should do it. But like a lot of us are all just learning about what it even means to do that for the first time. And you're dealing with, like that level of grief and like frustration and sadness. So yeah, it's the first person ever though.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's scary.
Yeah, it is really scary.
How about you?
Mine is in my bloodline. My family has always had autoimmune diseases. So specifically, the one my mom's side of the family has all battled with. All her siblings have it, which makes me really nervous. Is psoriasis. So for folks that don't know, psoriasis is like basically your immune system's being attacked, and it shows up in like your skin. So she kind of scabs like a lot, and it like shows up like in her head, in her arms, in her legs. Honestly, like now I think as she's gotten older, it showed up in like really, I guess, like weird places where she didn't expect it to show up. So yeah, but from the research I've done, that it is real tied a lot to like your emotions and like stress. My family hasn't had the best coping mechanisms when it comes to like stress and their anxiety, and I think they went through a lot in their childhood. So I feel like it's shown up a lot, but I see it a lot in my mom, where like she just like, if I look at her scalp, like it's really bad, like it's opening, and I feel so bad because I'm like, I wish I could help you, and there's only so much that you can do with like, you know, topical things like on the surface level. But yeah, it's just been a lot that my mom like battles, and I'm sure like when she was younger, she probably felt insecure because it's pretty visible like on your body. But yeah, I've always just been nervous and scared about it because I'm like, well, I know that like they're immunocompromised and we're sharing the same genes. So I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, there's a long list of stuff, but that's one that's like definitely like shows up a lot just in multiple people. Yeah.
And how have you tried helping prevent, you know,
I mean,
in some small way even?
Yeah. I mean, I think because I'm trying to understand like if it's tied a lot to like your emotions, which I think a lot of it is, just going to therapy, I think has helped, like managing my stress, my anxiety, also movement. Movement is attached to a lot of like our own health. So yeah, and knowing that like you said, like working out helps you release like certain things in your chemicals in your mind and your body. So like that helps prevent like certain diseases. So yeah, that's like what I'm doing. But I don't know. I still get nervous till this day because I think my mom might have gotten it when she was like maybe in her late 20s. I'm like, I don't know, but just hoping that it doesn't happen, but still trying to take care of myself.
Yeah. The fact that it's tied to emotions though, I think it's so interesting that you say that because, I think it's true that like sometimes your body will react based on how you feel, like in different ways, right? Like sometimes we feel it, right? Like in our throat, like choked up or something.
Yeah.
But in other ways, you can have reactions because your body is communicating to you that they're stressed. So I think it's so true. Like even if it's not, psoriasis per se, but just for anyone too, that the amount of stress or like way that you learn to like let out whatever, those emotions are that you might be experiencing, it is so important because you might see it show up in different ways. That, has to do with acne too, right? Like stress also is a contributor. And then also the things we do when we're under stress, right? Like maybe eating something really greasy over and over again, or maybe becoming very like isolated and sedentary because we're like, so it is so important because it really does show up on your body, whether it be your skin, your arms, in any way. So it is kind of crazy how it is tied a lot.
I know. I don't think there's enough research out there, but I feel like a lot of the things people experience in their bodies is definitely.
For sure. Yeah. It's a reflection of how you feel probably inside.
It's so crazy. And like,
makes sense that it shows up. Your body's like telling you, please stop.
Listen.
Listen. And to get into the conversation today, first, before we talk about our own personal experiences a little bit more in depth, we did want to sort of like just on a broader scale, touch on how health disparities show up and exist in our own communities on a more general level. So as general as this may be, what or why or where do like health disparities show up the most in communities? Yeah. What does that look like? What have we seen? I know there's like research done. So yeah.
So I think it's a mix of things. I think number one being like the inequities that exist in our communities, right? Yeah. So lower income communities are usually affected by like social racism, environmental racism. And so a lot of the research that I've been seeing you can see that like folks typically that are in those communities have like jobs that maybe aren't paying that well. And so with that comes the fact that like they might not be getting insurance. So a lot of folks like employment is typically tied into how people receive health benefits. And so within our communities, there has been just like a long-term research showing that like basically folks don't have insurance. So with that being said, like folks have to sometimes, depending on the state, go to like their state insurance. Like I know here we have Medi-Cal, Medicaid and stuff like that. But with that also comes like different things and documentations that folks have to show. But yeah, for sure, like access to health insurance sucks, and it sucks that it's tied to your employment. So like the second you lose your employment, you lose your insurance, you lose your benefits. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's a ripple effect basically is what you're saying. Like because you may grow up in a certain community where you may also be low income, you then have less resources available and are likely to have a job that does not maybe come with health, insurance or benefits. And if you don't, then an effect of that is that you rely on like the state insurance, which then the state insurance is much lower, which then causes you to be more discouraged to actually go. It takes months to sometimes see someone. There's just less availability, and then it's just a ripple effect, right? It really is. Because then who are the people who are most stressed? It is people with more, whether it be labor intensive jobs or just jobs that are stressful on your body, like literally. And the people who have those jobs do tend to be obviously people who are making lower income. And so it's just, it's like a whole cycle. Like it all affects each other, right? Same thing with like environmental, right? Like if you live in a community like Boyle Heights, you are surrounded by 4 major freeways. So because of that, you are exposed to more pollution. And because of that, then you are likely to have, asthma or any, different health or chronic illnesses. And then again, as a result, you might still not have the care or access to care that you might need more than someone who's not even surrounded by freeways per se or something like that, right? So it's just like an entire ripple effect, which is kind of trippy, Yeah,
and I think a lot of it is like structural racism, right? Yeah. Like our communities were purposely built this way so that folks don't have access to, jobs that pay as well, exactly. Like you were saying. So it's a mix of all of that.
I also think on the note of insurance, this is something I've been dealing with recently because I had my like ankle fracture. And so I had to use my insurance to like get, help. I think it's so interesting how slow it is. Also how complex it is to understand your insurance. Like I was having a hard time. I felt dumb. I was like, wait, so I can't go here, but I could go here, but I need a referral, but then I have to call the doctor to check if the referral went through. They won't call me. It's like so complicated. Like it was just like so much work that I had to do to like see someone. And then like, okay, if the physical therapist that I got referred to doesn't have any availability, I need to go back to my primary, ask them to request a different one, then check with them after it's approved, but it doesn't get approved. And then they tell me I have to call every day and say, hey, is it approved today?
So
they're not going to tell me. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, the level of patience I had to have because I needed to get seen was insane. I also think, you know, when you think about insurance too, regardless of having coverage, and even then it's expensive. And there are copays, there are deductibles you have to cover first, right? In order to even get like lower, you know, cost of care. And it's just like so discouraging because of how expensive it is to even just like get an appointment to be seen, you know, or to see specialists. Sometimes it's very hard depending on the insurance you have. And, you know, even, you know, work schedules, a lot of the availability happens during the workday to like get seen. And that means then people have to take days off, which is scary for a lot of people because that is like their livelihood. And then there's like community clinics, right? And like we have them and they're more existing, but community clinics are slower too, you know, and it's a lot harder to see them because they're just a bit slower in that sense. So I think there's just like a lot of factors that make like insurance so difficult. Because they don't reach like the demands at which people need to be seen. And then I think last thing too that I was thinking about was just like the historical mistrust that we have in this health system, right? I think we've been wrongfully, like Black and brown communities have been wrongfully treated, and there's you know been so much history there that has in so many different institutions that has hurt our community. So then it causes us to like not trust this system as much because a lot of it is with the intention of like making money, you know. Like I even heard from my physical therapist, because she doesn't work like in-house anymore for like you know insurance, she works on her own. She said when she was doing PT, she was required to ice you for 15 minutes, 15 minutes required to just talk to you, and then 15 minutes is your actual workout. And then she's required to massage you for 15 minutes. And she says the reason too is that it goes so slow because they want to extend as long as possible so that you make slower progress.
Yeah.
And that's actually ridiculous to me because I'm like, so you're going to slow my progress because of the money you can make. Or even, you know, any doctors always recommend, oh, just get all this stuff. And it's like overwhelming, you know, because you're not sure if you need it versus like, who do you trust, you know? Yeah. So it's kind of just trippy to me how much complexity there is. And uncertainty and like so much lack of education of understanding like what is this medicine, why do I need it, what is it actually important, or is it just, you know, what is, you know, we don't get that much. It's like you're in and out so quick, you know. So I just feel like it's so discouraging because it even discouraged me. I was like, I don't even want to see them. Like, this is like,
I know, it's actually insane.
And it's so sad. Yeah. So
yeah, because then you think about like somebody who's like working multiple jobs in our community as a family, like having to you know have that as an additional burden on top of everything they're experiencing. Yeah, it's just a lot. But yeah, I think the healthcare system is a very interesting one, especially in LA, because there's just too many people for I think the amount of like, you know, healthcare employees that we have that are supporting our communities.
Yeah. And even then, like when we talk about preventative care, it's even, it's hard because there's a lot of things like working against us, right? Like we said, the freeways, obviously, when we grow up here in this neighborhood, but also grocery store proximity. Like if you actually look at the proximity of stores and what's available in those stores, a lot of the time it's like it's kind of trippy that it's sort of trying to prevent you from like living a healthy life because of the things that are like advertised to us, you know, like to eat, and the way that even grocery stores are organized and how far a lot of you know grocery stores are. So I just think, or healthy grocery stores are, you know. So yeah, I just think that's so interesting. Like just the way everything's set up intentionally.
Everything's set up intentionally. And I think something you mentioned earlier is just like the bureaucracy of like the healthcare system, because like there's so many things that needs to happen, like especially when you need to see a specialist. It's actually insane because I've been trying to be seen recently for something for like my nasal area, and they keep telling me like you need to take these steroids for 6 months in order for me to put it in there on your chart. And recently who was telling me, A therapist had mentioned to me that like sometimes in order for folks to get care, like they have to put in certain codes that typically is like tied to
like emergency, right?
Like emergency or like to some sort of like to diagnose someone, even though they might not even have that specific like illness, because it's like we can't be put into like these boxes and categories, like we're so complex, but that will lead you to get moved on to the next step or something. But it's just so stupid because if you don't know these things and you're just like feeling like helpless, like in the system.
That's true.
Yeah.
Even my mom, she just got diagnosed as 28% disabled, and that still doesn't give her enough approval to see a specialist. She can see them in late September, and she literally at this point she's like, I have to basically be dying in order for them to see me soon. And it's like,
it's absurd.
By that point, it's like it's not preventative care, it's reactive. You're just like, let's just band-aid the problem now when we could have done that way earlier, so it's just so it's so bad.
And sometimes it feels like you have to play the system, and like it sucks, but I think like the reality is sometimes you have to over exaggerate, and then we can have the conversations of like, well, Black and brown people are never taken seriously, like when it comes to pain, right? And like the care they receive. So it's really, really scary.
It is. And I think it just goes back to how all of it is a system, because then when we think about, okay, we can't trust the system maybe, right? Like there's a lot of barriers that make it difficult for us to be seen. So then there's like this focus on, let's take care of ourselves, right? Like let's do preventative work among our own communities. Even then, there's some stuff and there's things that we can all do as individuals, but it's still really difficult when, for us here, I know in Boyle Heights, people have been fighting for a place to like walk around safely, like an area. So the big cemetery, Calvary, is it? Calvary?
Is that the new one?
Yeah,
towards like East LA?
Yeah, East LA. And that barely got built, but that's been like in the works for years trying to get built. Yeah. And so it just like, there's very limited green safe spaces that are cleaned by the city and by, and taken care of and actually poured into. There's little projects here and there that are happening, great, fixing streets or whatever, but it's very slow progress.
It's very slow because I think just the way structurally LA has been built is that like there's a department for every little thing, and it's like there's not like everything isn't centralized. Everything is like spread around, which is harder to like see more of the impact that we want to in our own community.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes it very discouraging for people. So like I don't blame why people are like, honestly, I don't really want to walk. I can't really walk comfortably, or I want to just be able to go around, and I can't really do that because there's not a ton of spaces. And even me, I was recently looking for a track to like walk around, and there really isn't, even though we have tracks in high schools or community colleges in the area, technically they're not public. And I'm like, why?
Like Cal State, does Cal State really have one?
Yeah, they do, but they're not public. So it's like, it's like, I don't know. It's just hard to like take care of yourself in an area where you're not like the city or the state even doesn't pour into you the way that like we can all really help empower each other a lot more, I'm
kind of interested to see if there's any like health issue that had a big effect on like how you view your own health today, like in your own family. I mean, the biggest ones that I've seen like directly are from my parents, and my dad has been diabetic probably since he was, I think, pretty young. I think like he was younger to the point where I'd consider him a kid. So it's type 2, where like he developed it. He wasn't like necessarily born with diabetes. And so I don't know, seeing my dad have diabetes, and then also my mom, this progression of like her back and shoulder issues and like neck, where like it's really hard to like work without feeling like literally inflamed, has definitely impacted the way I view my own health. And it has frustrated me in so many ways with like the system, and also like I just see how much my dad works. He works, as you know, a full-time job, but then he also works outside, and so it's like just constant 24/7 work, it feels like, except when he sleeps. And that is a lot of stress on your body, especially someone with diabetes who already like has higher likelihoods of other health or chronic illnesses, who faces like fatigue much faster than other folks. So he's just putting like a lot on his body. And I feel like
seeing him work so much because of like the stress of like finances and wanting to like sustain himself and whatnot. I don't know. I think it's just taught me the importance of like, I mean, health in general, right? Like how important it is to prioritize really paying attention to like your stress and giving yourself the care, because that can show up, like we said earlier, a lot in your body. And physically it will manifest into reality. And I see how that affects my dad and my mom too. Just, she has worked at a desk for a really long time, but early on, I don't think she realized like how bad it could get. So I think it's just like reminded me the importance of preventative work what is in my own control, which is making sure that I'm like walking and stretching. And I think a big one is also like food, like what I'm consuming, making sure that it's things that actually like give me energy, that aid like muscle growth and recovery, and things that like make me feel strong in my body as I work or as I, whatever it is. So I don't know, seeing those things like growing up, it's been a lot to see them, to be honest. And I see how much it affects them even as just in their 40s. I'm just like, you could see how tired they are.
For me, I think I've seen my parents develop a lot of health issues, and a lot of them being like inherited through like their genetics, but also like things they've gotten hurt like physically. When I was younger, my mom used to work at like this like really bougie venue, and she was like a waitress, and like her biggest job was to carry plates back after like people were done eating. So she, as a hardworking immigrant person, she was always doing like a lot, and she was going above and beyond and what they were even paying her. So she actually, when I was maybe like 10, had 7 fractured vertebrae in her back.
Gosh.
Yeah. So it was very, very, very early on when she was here. But yeah, like just that labor intensive job of carrying like these really heavy dishes affected her back. And so growing up, I saw her experience a lot of pain. Like she was just always like, I remember it hit her really bad whenever it got cold. So like typically like in the fall or like winter time, like she was always down, and she would always tell me that like she would go numb from her legs. And so it was just really scary, like as a kid, like feeling like I was trying to help my mom. I didn't really know what to do, supporting her like in the house. But yeah, I felt like very early on her health depleted a little bit more and limited her capacity to like even engage in like movement or taking care of herself, because she had to take things a little bit more slowly. So yeah, that was very painful growing up. And I think my mom, like in a weird way, learned how to deal with like severe pain and kind of just like be okay with it. And so like just normalizing it in her body so that she wouldn't experience a lot of like rage and like just be grumpy all the time, because yeah, it was just a lot. So my mom had a lot of like physical injuries that she got when she was like younger here. Obviously her autoimmune disease has always affected her. But luckily I think she has been a little bit more like cautious about like taking care of herself, because she did graduate as a nurse in Guatemala. So she's been more intentional about like fueling her body, like what she like consumes and things like that. But yeah, I think just as a kid, it was just very hurtful to see her experience that much pain. And so I think now as an adult, I've been more cautious about how I move. And even like when I do like hiking or like crazy intense things, like I try to be more mindful of that, because I'm like, damn, like her back got so like fucked up literally just from carrying like really heavy dishes. So yeah, just being more mindful and like understanding that like your body is so delicate. Like even though I know that like sometimes we might want to do things, like I think still being cautious of like the injuries and the consequences that can come. So I feel like a lot growing up was like injuries that my parents experienced. And then my dad on the other end, he also had, because he worked as a janitor his whole life. So he was also going above and beyond, just like, because at the end of the day, it was like a job he learned to love. And he always wanted to like show up in his best way possible. So he always did the most at work, and he got 2 shoulder injuries, and he had a cuff rotator surgery. And then, so like basically my father also had a lot of injuries. And so growing up, I was in the hospital room a lot, like as a little kid, like waiting to see if like my parents were, like, okay. So yeah, just a lot of things like have come up that were like injuries. And then as of most recent, my mom got diagnosed with brain aneurysms. So that one has been like the most scariest one, because that one can literally kill you silently and like you don't even know. So yeah, like I think just seeing my parents like from a very young age have a lot of like health issues forced me to, like, when I was older and had more autonomy, to focus more on like my health, but still trying to figure out like a balance of like enjoying life, focusing on my health. But yeah, just like understanding that our body is really the only vessel that we have in this world, and if we don't take care of it, then like there's unfortunately consequences that come with that. But yeah.
And I think also, though, like, this brings up the fact that I think health is such a privilege, like, to care about your health, because obviously, like, your parents were working hard to make ends meet. And yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm like, well, they didn't really have the privilege to just be like, well, I'm gonna, think about and make a plan for strength training, or like, or I have time, like an hour to go walking. And so it really has become a privilege at this point for us to be able to like prioritize those things. And it's so sad, because I agree, like, yeah, you see your parents like really struggle through these like physical, mental, whatever it be, health conditions or like stressors that they deal with. And we see it and get to decide now, because we have that like ability to sort of like change something about it based on what we see. And I feel like I know the same thing for your parents too. I'm like, my parents, even though they did not prioritize their own self, they did it so much for me. Like they made sure to try to feed me as best as they could, even though they, still have their own ways of like not doing the same. And it just makes me also think like it is so sad, because they, like, when I think about my mom, I'm like, my mom never let me drink soda growing up. Like I, to this day, have never even tried any of them. So like for her to do that, knowing, and she still likes soda, it was like a selfless thing for her to do, in the sense of like, I know how bad it is for you, and I'm like so sucked deep into the addiction of it, which is so true. Like it's so sad once you get like addicted to sugary drinks, greasy food, all this stuff, or just like used to a life of not moving so much, or going to yoga, or have the money for that, or the time to do that. Like to be able to do that for your kids is such a privilege, because it means that we grew up sort of having that mindset that like these things are important and make us feel good. And they didn't, even though they like maybe now can do a little bit more and are aware, but it's so hard to get out of that like custom that you just never, like you would have to unlearn, So it's just kind of crazy, because I do feel like it's so sad, because there's like awareness probably for our parents. Like, I know this isn't good for me. I know that I should be walking more, but it's really hard to like do it at later in life, when like you're so used to the way you live your life as it is, and you want it better for your kids, but it's harder to like do that for yourself. So yeah, I just think that's like super interesting for sure, when it comes to, because I get frustrated by my mom. I'm like, Mom, please go walking, please. Like, why is it so hard? Like, I can't understand, But then it's like, she hasn't done it for a long time, or her mind is occupied by other things, and like to have the capacity really is a privilege, and I wish that it was more, but again, we could only do so much to like, let's try to push them in ways that we feel like they pushed us, so like we could do the same. But yeah, I think that's something that has like I just noticed about growing up with my parents. I was gonna ask you too, what do you feel is like the hardest thing to talk to your parents about when it comes to health? Like, is there something that, kind of how I was talking about maybe with like food, a little bit of a delicate subject, is there something that's like difficult to talk to your parents about? And or like, why do you think it's hard to try to like help push our parents to like maybe put a little bit more value into their health? Like, that's like the hardest part to understand, I think, or the frustrating part.
I mean, I think a lot of it, like you were saying, is our parents have just been so accustomed to living this way. And so because it has been so normalized to them, and it didn't become an issue till later in life when I saw their health decline, I think, at least I can say for like my family, because of that, they're like kind of like, you know what, I've been functioning this way, like why do I have to change this, right? Like I think it's just the stubbornness in them, and I feel like I've seen my parents as they age only get more stubborn, which doesn't help. But yeah, I think also it's I think a lack of education, because I feel like my dad recently was diagnosed with diabetes, and it happened like later in like his 60s, and I don't think he really understands like what diabetes is, like the long-term effects it has on your body, and like what it can like how it can slowly kill you. And so because I think folks might not be aware of it, I think it's much easier to live in like the unknown. And it's like ignorance is bliss, right? Like if you don't know, then like how do you know it's going to affect you? to. But yeah, like I think like with my dad, it's been very difficult to talk about like food specifically. I think food has always been a very delicate subject because, you know, when he talks a lot about his like upbringing in Guatemala, like they were surviving, and sometimes like a good lunch was like a tortilla with like frijoles and like salt, like something so simple.
Food is attached to memories. For sure.
Right. Yeah. And so I think a lot is like my dad is like, you know, like that is like what's sacred to him. And so my dad has had to unlearn, like, you know, like maybe eating like 5 tortillas during lunch is not great for you, right? Like maybe we should learn a little bit about how to balance it. But yeah, I think it's just like stubbornness for sure. Lack of education. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mix of things, but yeah, it's very frustrating to have like with my dad. Most recently, we had like a health scare maybe about like a month ago, and it took for him to like get in the hospital and be in the emergency bed.
Hear it. Yeah.
And to hear it like, Senor, like if you're not taking your meds, if you're not taking care of your body and you're not losing body fat at this rate, like you're going to lose a finger or you're going to go blind. And so sometimes like those harsh realities is like a slap in the face for your family. So yeah, but I think, you know, it's the lack of education because I don't think he realized what was happening internally. Like, you know, maybe superficially, it looks great, but it's not enough for, you know, especially because he's 60. I'm like, dude, you don't have the same like, you know, functions as you did when you were 20. So it'd be a different story, right? Different. Like it's different for you. So yeah, I think it's definitely like stubbornness and lack of education for some of our parents. Yeah.
And I think also on top of it is to do with like the lack of education. I think also like all of us too, and we're at fault of it too, is like this short-term reward sort of like that our brain prefers, where when we do something like, let's say, I can use an example for myself. I like to sit on the couch because I get to be sitting there with my dog, right, during work. But the couch is not good to sit on for long periods of time because your back starts to like go down, you know?
Like,
and then you might not notice it initially, but me doing that, right, like every day can then lead to eventually having back issues. But I feel the same thing, right? Like we just say, oh, today I'm just going to eat, this, whatever, or I'm going to drink this like soda today. And then it's not affecting me. I feel fine. But like, we're so used to like, whatever is like the the instant like reward, which the soda tastes good and it brings me joy. But we're not thinking about the thing that will affect us years from now, right? Yeah. Like we're not, because that's not what's important in the moment. In the moment, what's important is how this makes me feel and the joy. Yeah, which is true. And there's a balance. But I think like the challenge with that is that we live our lives like that every day. So then we're like, well, I'm fine now. But then 10 years later, all of those like decisions of whatever, if we're using soda as an example, drinking it every day can then spike to a certain point where now your body's reacting, right? And so it just feels like, I think we're also like, especially our parents, when they're stuck in their ways, stubborn, it's like, it hasn't affected me this past year, why would I even care about that? But things take long to develop, you know, like diabetes or high cholesterol or anything, right? These things happen over time. It does not happen like, I drank the soda today and now I have diabetes. It doesn't work like that. Like, you do it over a series of time and then you see it. So it is hard for us to think about the future like goal or whatever, like the long-term benefit versus like short-term, you know, we react to things based on what's going to give me like this present moment joy or happiness. But I feel like that also comes from just like the way we're so accustomed to like instant behavior now with technology, with just like easy convenience. Like we're just so used to like whatever happens now is like, even just waiting at a restaurant, right? Like when we're waiting in line for more than 10 minutes, it's like, damn, why is this taking forever? Yeah. It's like, girl, back in the day, they probably waited for like a whole hour and that's just how it was, you know?
Yeah.
And we're just like so used to like things being quick and fast and like whatever feels good in the moment. And so I think that shows up for health as well. Like we make decisions based on what feels good in the moment and maybe not consider at all what might affect us a long term. And so I feel like that's why too my parents struggle with it. Cause like, they're just like, I'm fine now, but now it's catching up to me. And now you're doing reactive work to try to undo it. And it's so much harder to undo stuff.
Yeah.
So it becomes a challenge for sure.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've been struggling to also understand in my own life, like with my parents, is like, and we're talking about it now, right? What are some of the reasons they have difficulty prioritizing their health? But it's still hard for me to like completely understand like why why can't you care more about your health, right? And I see this even like in people around me too that have frustrations with their parents of like, why can't you care a little bit more? Like, this is for your own like existence, like well-being, you know? So I think it's just like hard to like understand why you don't want to care more if you know how bad it could be, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think from an outsider perspective, it's very painful to like watch your family's like health decline. But yeah, I think about it a lot, especially when like my mom, like I know like there's certain things that she should be doing to like prevent, you know, like saying you were saying developing like so many health issues. But I think sometimes like for both of my parents, it's a lack of like self-love. Because to me, it's like I am trying to like wrap my mind around the fact that because I care for my body and I love myself, like this is why I show up for myself, even though it's fucking hard. And I think like for my mom, what I've noticed is because, you know, it's been ingrained in her that like as a mom, she's supposed to like do all these household things, like cook, clean, do all of this. And it's like much easier for her to distract herself
that
with
comes
that.
first before
Her own health and like self-care. And it's very sad to see because I'm like, part of me is like, you're never doing anything for yourself. Like, I don't know, you know, and I'm no one to like diagnose or like, you know, understand her fully psychologically, but I do really feel like it's a lack of self-love because they're choosing not to pour into themselves. And, you know, I think growing up, a lot of us, or at least for our families, like didn't have conversations around that, right? Like because they were stuck in surviving. And I think the same for like my dad. I'm like, do you love yourself so much that you're consuming all these things that you know are hurting yourself and in the long run are probably going to limit you from doing the things you even love till this day. So yeah, I think it's like lack of self-love, self-confidence, and like, you know, just knowing that you have to show up for yourself. Like this is a way of care and loving yourself aside from like so many other things you might still be doing. But yeah, I think that's what it is because I reflect a lot on like me, like why I show up to movement classes or like why I eat nutritious things because I love myself and I want to continue, you know, building this life for myself that, you know, hopefully I don't develop any of these chronic issues later on.
And it's so scary. Like actually you saying that though makes me think about how like it is so true. Like when I think about my mom, I'm like, she is such an amazing mom. She gives in so much to her kids, pours everything that it's like that comes before me taking any time to think about my own health. And I'm like, that is so true. Like, and honestly, it's kind of even triggers like, oh shoot, like I gotta be conscious of that too for myself because I feel like sometimes I find myself at the end of the day, like, damn, I didn't have time to like work out or move my body today. And I'm like, and I've been talking to my therapist about this too, because I'm like, I don't know. I don't have time is what I say. And sometimes like at the end of the day, I don't have time, even if I want it. And it becomes a question of what is most important to you. And I've always treated like movement or been treating movement recently as like, okay, if I have time, I'll get to it. Instead of how I would never work around like, I have this meeting, I'm not going to miss it. I should be treating my movement time, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour. Oh, I'm not available during that hour because that's already scheduled. Like, I don't treat it as like something that's like a part of the day. I treat it more as like, if there's time in the day. And that's where I see like the reflection of like my mom, you know, like what the behavior and how we like put emphasis on our own self-care, you know? So it's so interesting and good for us to reflect on that for ourselves too. How do you choose to treat that time for respect for yourself to show up better everywhere else too, you know? Obviously when you go to yoga or you go work out, like you end up showing up a lot better to every other space too. So I feel like it's a win-win at the end of the day, but it is so important to treat it as something that like that is a part of your lifestyle that's going to feed into the ways you can give in to people instead of like the opposite way. Like I show up for everyone before I like show up for myself, you know? But that is so true with our parents. I think they did grow up like it is so much like give and never any like just take a little bit for yourself.
And I think as like they get older, I don't know, I feel like for a lot of Latino families, like we hold family so sacred. So we still want to continue showing up. Like when our kids were younger, like I say to my mom, like, I feel like our relationship has stayed the same where she still wants to give so much to me. And I want her to understand, like, I don't know how it is for you, but like there's like, I'm okay. Like you poured every single ounce of your love and care into me that like, I know how to exist. I know how to survive. I appreciate you, you know, like you show your love through like acts of service, like making me something to eat. But I'm like, I want you, instead of like focusing your time that hour and like making something for someone else, like, why don't you go for a walk or do this? But yeah, I think a lot of it is, I think our parents still have to figure out how to let their little babies fly, so that hopefully they can also like pour back into themselves. But I think also it's like when their reality has been so different for so long. Sorry, that's so cute. It's hard for them to learn how to exist outside of like being a mom and a dad.
Because that's their entire identity.
Yeah, it's been their identity. So now they have to figure out oh shit, what do I do with my time?
It's scary for themselves because it's like, oh shoot, now that I don't have to like provide, how do I, like, who am I? Like seriously, because I think about my grandma too, and I've shared this, like, I don't think she realized who she was after she lost her partner, my grandpa, because it was like, wait, now I have to figure out who I am without them, without the code like dependence of that. And I feel like our parents need to do that too sometimes. And it's like double-edged, right? Because it's like so beautiful to like give so much, but also like then you go through this midlife crisis probably of like, who actually am I, and like what do I do with my time, you know? And so it is pretty
it's really hard. And I've heard like people say like once you're a parent, like your identity, something shifts, like it's just something you can't turn off. And I don't know the other end, right? Like I don't know what my mom feels, but yeah, it definitely is hard. And you know, I hope our parents can heal and find time for themselves. Yeah.
Well, now as we're transitioning more into closing out this conversation, we talked about like general health disparities that we see grow up within our community, and also frustrations, but also trying to understand where our parents are coming from by not prioritizing their health always, and how that's affected ourselves as well. I'm curious, my question to you is, what is like one thing that you think you've done to prioritize your health that maybe you hope like inspires your parents, you know, like, I don't know, even if you're doing something, do you feel like there's anything that you've implemented into your life that they haven't always, that has inspired them to maybe like implement it too?
Yeah, I think movement. I don't think I had like a routine a lot before, but I've been trying to build it for myself because I know, you know, the benefits. But like there's a time where I was like doing a bunch of random shit, like just going bike riding or like hiking, or just like they see me leave for an hour and then like come back. And then I think it has also helped push them, because now I've seen my dad like
go out too.
He'll leave for like 2-3 hours. Sometimes he's a little extreme, but he'll leave to
24
walk.
hours.
Like he'll leave to walk. And I feel like I noticed the shift when I got back. And also my dad's retired, so he has like more time to do things. But also like with my mom, like I've been telling her like, hey Miss Girl, like I know you're going to work, but like you can still make time for this. So she has made an effort to like come back from work walking.
I love that.
So yeah, like I think to some degree them seeing me like work out and like set an allotted time for that has also forced them to like implement it into their days.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I've just been proud of them, because I don't feel like I've gotten to a point where I don't have to be like pushing them. I feel like it's become the opposite sometimes, where like, vas a hacer ejercicio? And I'm like, I will soon, I promise.
Seriously.
But yeah, I think they're trying to be a little bit more conscious of that, because they've seen me do it.
Which is beautiful, because even if you don't mean to, like we get to, and that's what you have in your control too. I feel like you get to pick the way, you know, you're you know, putting importance into your own movement, health, whatever it is, and they see it. And you see that even with friends, right? Like, we inspire each other by just not even, you're not doing it to show your friends, you're doing it and your friends are inspired by seeing it. And I think about that with my parents too, where when in college I started to eat a lot differently. Like I was eating a lot more whole foods, understanding where food was coming from, alternatives that were still the same, you know, things, but like different, healthier, you know, versions of it. And when I go eat with them after that, it's not even like I would say like, so I'm going to explain this and this and this here that we're eating. But just seeing like the nutritious foods that I would eat every time, like I go eat with them, like especially more recently, there's so much more like, actually, I'm going to try that one. Like, you know, and it's like the veggie forward one, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know? So around me, I see them really like opening themselves up to trying something that they probably wouldn't normally, even without me saying anything, you know? And I'm like, I love that. Like you were open to it because you see me doing it. So you're like, okay, it must not be that bad, like, you know? And so like, I'll try it. Yeah. So, it's crazy how like you can inspire them without even like doing anything like telling them directly,
reprimanding them.
Yeah, sometimes that doesn't work very well at all. So yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah,
a good way, or a cute way.
It happens naturally somehow. Yeah.
What about on the flip side though? What are things do you think that you can do or have done to help push your parents in like a healthier way? Because I think that's the challenge. Like, what can we do in our own control as kids of our parents to help them without like, getting them to get all mad, because I feel like that's the hardest question of just like, how do we support them without like overstepping, because they're also adults and don't want to be told what to do, I don't know if anything has worked for you.
I mean, I think I've seen it sometimes show up when it comes to food. Because sometimes because I'm younger, my mom will be like, yeah, tú puedes comer esa chucheria or whatever. Wait, do you know what that is?
I assume
like chips. Like crap. Yeah, like crap.
Crap. Yeah, I was gonna say
like
crap. Yeah.
So sometimes like she would buy like a bag of chips and I would be the one supposedly just eating them, but because they were there and in the pantry, then everybody else will indulge. So yeah, I think there were certain things where I told my mom like, hey, I think we all need to support each other. So I would appreciate if maybe we're not buying these chips so that like we all don't feel the need to like go eat in the pantry and snack on it. Yeah, is
best when it's away.
Yeah, if it's not in there, how are you gonna eat it?
Yeah, how are you gonna know?
But yeah, I think a different way too is also cooking at home, because I think like my mom has been the one that cooks the most, and it's typical like things from Guatemala, or she tries to add in like her own thing to make it like healthier, to like switch things out. But I've been like I look online for a lot of cooking videos and things, so introducing them to new ways to eat maybe something that they didn't like in the past. So yeah, like similar to what you were saying, but yeah, I think also being the one of like, you know what? I think it will benefit all of us if we're not eating this, or if we're trying to be more intentional with like eating, more nutritious food or whatever. So yeah, like I also have to say no to things. Yeah. And it also helps me build up the habit so that later on I'm not like, oh fuck, I need this right now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any?
Yeah. Similar on the food note. I think like sometimes what I'll do, because I don't want to directly sometimes tell them balance, but sometimes if I'm not directly telling them something, one thing that often works is like if I cook food from home, I'll give them a plate. Like, oh, like they're here. You want a plate of food, and it's like my food, and it's like just like nice exposure of like, oh, like this is simple. It's whole foods, and like it was actually good. So just like dropping it here and there to hopefully help inspire. I think also. I do love learning about health in general, right? Whether it be like, strength training, I've always loved it. And obviously I do content around it. But I think sometimes also telling them like, ooh, like, have you guys tried a foam roller? Like it actually really helps with like my back. And naming things that I know would probably help them a little bit more. Because my parents are open. They just, I think it's a lack of education, right? Like knowing what's like good. And also I think they need like a little bit of a push. So I try to, and I don't know if this is the best way, but even with my mom with like the phone calls to go walking, I'll mess around by telling her like, you could only talk to me while we're walking like together. So we could talk while you're on your walk.
Like healthy manipulation.
Healthy manipulation. Yeah. So I feel like you have to, figure out like the way that like your parents are like, are able, to approach them. But I agree. I definitely think it's like a matter of like, what decisions can you make that like can have a positive influence? Whether it's like when you go out to eat, you're picking a place that's like a little bit better for all of you. Or on the weekends, the activity you choose to do isn't always maybe sitting, watching a movie, but let's go on a little like walk at the park, right? Yeah. Like trying to choose things that help expose them to like, this feels good, doesn't it? So I think those are some easy ways, but definitely challenging depending on what the health issue or thing that your family is experiencing. But I feel like the simpler, the better, that I think to me, when I learn about human to human, like how people show up to a class again is when they feel like they can accomplish a little something in that moment, right? Like if it's a walk, great. We walked like a lap. If it's eating this food, great. I tried something new. We are closing out the episode with an activity. This one's a little bit more educational. So I'm going to ask you a question. It's called Guess the Fact. Dun, dun, dun. You're just going to take a wild guess. And you all can guess with Ixchel today. All right. First question. There's two possible answers. What is one of the leading causes of, it's kind of a strong one. What is one of the leading causes of death for Latinx folks in California? I'm like, sorry.
In California? That's so specific.
I want to be more specific.
I'm going to say diabetes. No, hold up. Stroke.
Well, I think you were right. Heart disease,
Heart disease, stroke.
which with diabetes,
Yeah.
like diabetes was actually top two, and then
Oh.
cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Which cancer is really common in our communities. Yeah, but that was right because it's a heart disease.
So it was 3?
No,
It was-
heart disease. Technically, I think like diabetes is under.
It's tied to it. Yeah, it's all tied.
Yeah. Okay, next question. You guys try to guess too. Okay, guess the fact. Okay, about how many Latinx adults have high blood pressure, like blank in blank. Like what's like, like 1 in 50, 1 in 100. Like what do you think?
God.
Obviously, it varies by age and how you identify, but nonetheless, this is the average number.
I'm gonna say 3 and 5.
That's actually pretty close. 1 in 3.
1 and 3. Okay.
Yeah, high blood pressure. Okay. So out of us 3 right here, you listening, us 3, one of us is one of us. Shoot.
Yeah, it sounds like we're on a game
I know.
show.
We are. This is our game show. Okay. Compared to white adults, Latinx are how much more likely to develop diabetes?
Oh, God.
About how much percent more?
I'm going to say 65%.
Oh, you're close. 70% more.
Almost there.
It's horrible. Okay. What percentage of adults meet the recommended 150 minutes of physical activity each week? 150 minutes, by the way, in a 7-day week is 20 minutes. 20 minutes of physical activity. How many percentage of adults do you think actually meet that requirement?
I'm going to say like 25.
Oh, God. Good thing more, actually.
Oh, yay.
50% of people do 20%.
Wow.
I mean, 20 minutes. I feel like 20 minutes is a little bit.
It's a little bit, yeah.
But
it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. But yeah, not even half of people do that, which is not that great. Okay, Boyle Heights is ranked among the top blank percent of most populated communities in California.
It's related to health.
Top what percent of communities in California most populated? Boyle Heights is ranked among the top blank percent of most populated communities in California.
Diverse?
No, top percent. Like what percent? What's the number?
Oh.
Wrong.
Wait, see it again. Sorry.
Boyle Heights is ranked among the top blank percentage of most populated communities in California.
Oh, interesting. 10%?
Top 1%. I know, it's so bad.
Damn.
Top 1%. Boyle Heights has one of the highest cumulative pollution burdens in California because of the freeways, the traffic, the industry areas, and hazardous facilities. Tisk.
Already knew.
That's pretty bad.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's like a stat.
Yeah. I said this earlier, so if you paid attention, how many major freeways surround Boyle Heights?
Oh, God. Major? Let's see. 5.
4.
So close.
Like, let me throw another one in there. 4. I mean, it's still fucking a lot. And they're right here. 1, 2.
Does it name them? Like,
no, but it's the 60, the 710, the 10,
the 5.
The 5, I think. I think those 4. That's horrendous. Okay, last 2 questions. Latinx neighborhoods in California experience about how many more days of extreme heat each year than predominantly white neighborhoods? Which is so interesting to me. Like we deal with more heat than other neighborhoods. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, lack of greenery.
How many more days?
I'm gonna say 50.
Oh my God, no! Thank goodness. Well, 23, which is still a lot, and I feel like I agree. Like it still easily could be that much, but the stat is technically 23 days.
Damn.
Yeah, which is still a lot. It's so sad that we still have like way more days of heat because of the greenery. Okay, last question. In Los Angeles County, what percentage of land in majority Latinx neighborhoods is shaded by trees?
Probably 5%.
4%.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing.
4%.
Yeah,
it hurts me.
It's so bad.
It
and
is.
Like, why don't we do anything about this?
Dude, I have no idea.
Pisses me off.
Yeah, that was Guess the Fact. Okay, we're done there. All right, we're going to close it out with our weekly small business, local business shout out of the week. Who are you shouting out this week?
I am shouting out Lucky Shots. I was just talking to her about it yesterday. I was actually heartbroken because after my hike, I was so excited to go see them. I know, but they were closed. They're out of office. Good for them. You should be taking a well-deserved break. But they're a local coffee shop in El Sereno, straight out of their little like garage area, and it's so cute. And also their drinks are so delicious. Like I had a honeycomb, I don't know what it had, a really cool name. something but it was delicious. Like they really put a lot of love into their drinks, and I loved it.
I love that. I have to try it.
You have to go. I think they're back next week maybe.
Damn, okay, so week. Okay,
but follow them on Instagram. Lucky Shots.
Got it. I am shouting out Roberto's Tamales. That is my favorite tamale spot. That's what I grew up on. So he's a great person. He's hilarious. His tamales are so consistent for the past decade of my life. It is the same masa, and I just love consistency. And they're great. I love it. He never does me wrong. And the champurrado is great too.
It's Mexican tamales, like
Mexican.
I have to try them. I love Mexican tamales.
Dude, which is so funny because I love nachos. Like that was so good.
I just love like cheese.
Oh, okay.
Cheese in your tamales.
That's true. That's facts. Okay. Okay. And what is your one wellness tip for the day for folks?
One wellness tip is go on a hike if you have a fur baby, a four-legged friend. My doggy just he's overweight. They just hold us.
Really?
I know. We're like heartbroken. I know.
Pounds, but...
Yeah, he's like overweight by like 3 pounds. So, anyways, I'm trying to also hold him accountable for his own health. And I'm like,
part of the family.
You have to come on this hike with me. I know you don't like the incline, but you got this.
That's true. He can't be babied. Like he can't.
No, that's the thing. My parents baby him, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you this, and I'm gonna give you that," and they feed him human food. I'm like, "Stop, stop!" I've been telling them,
it adds up.
And now he's overweight, and now I'm like, "Okay, so you wanted to get diabetes?"
Yeah, and dogs could.
They can.
Like, it's true. It's dangerous.
Yeah. So if you can, take your dogs on a hike in your incorporate them into your movement, because they also need it for themselves.
Yeah. That's true. You should include your dogs as well, because their health should matter as well to you.
Yes.
Facts.
What's your healing confession?
No.
Your wellness tip.
Healing confession. My tip. We're done. My wellness tip is to trust yourself in the decisions that you make. I think a lot of the times we second guess, we live in regret. And I just feel like this week especially, I'm trying to trust the decisions I make. Trust your intuition. Like if you feel some type of way about whatever it is, just trust that you trust yourself that you're making the right decision for yourself, in whatever that means. You can interpret into your own life. But just trust yourself. You know yourself best, and trust that you are making the right decision for yourself and the choices that you make, and no regrets.
That's a really good one. Yeah. Needed that today.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us for another episode. We really hope we gave you some helpful tips on how to support your family. Also kept it real about the conversations. And if it spoke to you, feel free to share it with your prima, your homegirl, anybody, your parents. Maybe they would listen to this.
Especially.
But yeah.
And, shoot. Healing is super personal, but it's also very collective. So we're always so grateful to be able to do this with all of you. So make sure to follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Healing in Spanglish. And also please take a second to subscribe on Spotify or on YouTube, wherever you're listening. That helps us continue to do this work.
Hasta la próxima, con mucho amor.